let's do the truth of each faction. We'll start with Tau.
Yeah.
But before I do that, I want to go down the list. Well, never mind. You know what? We're going to start with Tau, actually, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Tau, at least that is relatively public knowledge that we can.
Yeah.
So Tau, there was one Tau player out of the 54 in the tournament. There's one.
I feel like there must have been some sort of gentleman's agreement.
No,
when everybody walked into the hotel and they were like, okay, guys, we know you got your Tau list.
This guy showed up late, clearly.
Yeah, no, he was late. We know you got your Tau list. Gentleman's agreement. Let's just not
throw him in the trash.
Let's just throw him in the trash.
Yeah. But I honestly think a lot of it had to do with the fact that there's a lot of negativity towards Tau in the community right now.
Yeah,
for decent reason. They're not the most fun to play against.
The way they're designed is it's tough. Doesn't feel very rewarding.
Yeah, and but I don't think that
can't really interact with them the way you want to.
Yeah, I should get
the
into
biggest issue.
The one Tau player, he went 1-3. So 4 games, 25% win rate. A lot of people are looking at this and saying, "Oh man, what does it mean?" I don't think it really means much of anything.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's one Tau. There was one Tau kill team in a field of 54.
Yeah, and I heard somewhere in the Discord that the player was relatively new.
Yeah, so
this
don't read into that.
Yeah, the truth to Tau is they're probably still quite good. It's really unfortunate we didn't get to see Tau in this format because I still think they would have been great despite the impassable terrain.
Mm-hmm.
There was still plenty of shooting lanes. There was the 2 big towers in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Towers still great at shooting. The drones are still 7 points.
Yeah,
they're a good faction, and I think you could have been successful with them at LVO, especially when you look at the best armies at this tournament were these T3 shooty armies.
Yeah, I don't see why Tau wouldn't have been able to fit in there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the story of Tau. Don't overreact. They're probably still fine on this tournament. That's that.
Yeah, in this ITC in the Kill More Hold More format. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you quick aside, how did you feel about the terrain?
I liked it.
I liked it a lot too.
Yeah, it was simplistic. It was I liked that it was paralleled because I know like aesthetically people love having all sorts of like terrain that almost kind of looks like a real battlefield.
Yeah.
But I think competitively, what we had here was a lot better.
Yeah.
And it
just completely balanced.
Yeah.
2 big of the Mechanicus furnace silos in the middle across from each other. And then there were 4 like industrial containers.
Yeah.
And then they were like spread kind of like almost like an X. And then there were a couple of barriers going along the middle.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no,
I liked it a lot.
I was a big fan of it. Yeah, I can't wait until like we ordered that.
Yeah, we ordered all the terrain for that, so that'll be coming in soon.
We'll be doing some games on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Tau. That's my take on Tau. While we're doing the bottom dwellers of the tournament, let's take a look at Sisters. Similar situation. Not quite similar, not the same, but there was one Sister player. They went 0-4.
Yeah.
Sisters, and I said this in the Discord at one point during the tournament, don't read into this. Sisters is a super young faction.
Yeah, like not even all the models are like out yet,
with
unless
hard
you're
to access,
going on eBay. And
hard to access the good models for this faction. And there was one player.
Yeah, don't read into that.
It means nothing. I would wait a little bit and see how people will pick up Sisters, and we'll see more authentic performances with a higher volume of like higher sample size.
Yeah.
So don't look into the 0-4 Sisters, although Sisters did get to claim the worst win rate of the tournament. They're the only faction that appeared that didn't get a win. Sad days.
Yeah. I mean,
now moving on to the other bottom dweller, Tyranids. Tyranids might be the biggest loser of the tournament. They, unlike the other 2 factions at the bottom, they actually have a good sample size. They had 12 games at this tournament. They went 3-9.
12 teams or
12 games.
Oh, okay.
So 3 Tyranid players.
Oh, okay.
None of which made top 8.
Yeah.
They went 3-9, 3 wins, 9 losses.
Yeah. I mean, that's still pretty small in a field of 54, but
yeah, comparatively, it's. I think you can take something away from it. For starters, I mean, it didn't seem like the big bug strategy that Bjorn came in with ended up being too successful.
Yeah.
The big models like Wraith Guards and such had answers to it. And it just struggled. I think Tyranids on Killmore, and I don't know if anybody even dared to take the Gaunt spam list.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about that.
If they did, I'm not sure how well it would have fared.
Nothing on the stream.
I would say that this might. I think I'd be willing to say that I don't think Tyranids fare very well on this packet. I think they come out much worse than Tau, and people really ragged on Tau for 1-0 and 4 performance. I think that this is a more authentic telling of the faction based on the performance. 3-9, that's rough.
Yeah.
So moving up.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to start from the bottom and move up. So we're not at Adeptus Astartes yet. This is actually the 4th to the bottom.
Consider me surprised.
Harlequins.
Okay, that's not too surprising.
Harlequins went 3-5. I know Glass had really ragged on these guys before the tournament. They did okay. I mean, they did mediocre, but they weren't the worst. They were not like atrociously bad.
Yeah.
3-5. So 2 players brought them. 37% win rate. They were never shown on stream, and I don't think we have any of the rosters available to us.
We can find you if you have the BCP Players app.
Is everything up on there? Can you?
I don't want to say everything, just because, as probably some of you know, BCP had a lot of issues during LVO weekend. Like 800 people in a single room for the big 40K. All trying to get their pairings done on the same app. I
don't even know why we're worrying about this, because Harlequins can only bring so much. We don't really need to look at the Harlequin rosters.
Yeah, their thing is they only got one model.
Yeah, and they really struggle against Mortal Wounds, which Psychers were pretty big at this tournament compared to prior tournaments that we've seen. They really struggled against the Gatekeepers more than anything. And that's why they're 4th to bottom. 5th to bottom. Actually, this is these next few are tied with Harlequins.
Oh, okay.
Orcs, 3-5, and it really is too bad.
Yeah. How many orc players were there?
Only 2.
Oh, okay.
The Flashget orc player did pretty well at the tournament. He didn't make top 8. He might have made top 20, but he won the GT. Basically, it was the best of all the players that didn't make top 8.
Oh, okay.
So it was pretty much everyone else that was still there on Sunday. So he won that with a 2 Flashget list. The Flashgets, I think there's something good there in this packet for Flashget freebooters.
So the next faction up on the list is Demons.
Yeah. So people were really scared of Demons before this tournament. And I still think rightfully so. Demons went 3-5, same record as Orcs and Harlequins. They only had 2 players, and I actually know the exact 2 lists that were ran. Sheldon, Kill Team Stream, ran all Bloodletters.
Yep.
So
Bloodletter bomb.
Yeah, 17 Bloodletters. And he got that sub-faction bonus for the +1 in the charge. And the other guy, whose name, I think his name is Ham Sandwich on BCP, but he took all Pink Horrors.
So
they both went for this.
So both of these players, they took monofaction Demons just to get that sub-faction bonus that there was in this packet for taking monofaction Demons. So do you think that worked for them, or do you think it worked against them?
Well, it didn't work for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they went 3-5. I know that Sheldon was talking about it, and he kind of said that he got some bad matchups, which I believe him. But my problem with it is when you play all Bloodletters, you're really prone to bad matchups. So it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. In the same issue for Pink Horrors, you really lock yourself into one play style. And I think the trade-off, I don't think it's worth it. I think the sub-factions were kind of a trap at LVO for Demons.
Definitely.
I think it's better to have a combo of Bloodletters and Horrors than it is to have +1 to a horror charge or +1 leadership for the Pinks. Yeah, I think if we saw a combination, we might have seen a better performance.
Definitely.
Because I think Pink Horse, Demons are just really, really good in this format, especially with the secondaries.
They are a tough nut to crack. Yeah.
They're very good right now. So I would say that the truth of Demons is not reflected in the tournament standings.
No.
They're one that I think is still quite good in the packet, and could have easily done better. Now moving on, Adeptus Astartes.
Hey,
they actually had the same win rate as the other 3 factions, but they had a much bigger sample size. There were 24 Astartes games played, and they went 9-15.
Okay,
so kind of an underwhelming showing for the faction. There was one player who took them, who is top 20 on ITC end of season.
Would it be?
It's Pat Wilson.
Pat Wilson.
Pat Wilson took them. But so even with such a big sample size with Astartes, it's kind of hard to make any definitive statements because there's so many different play styles for them.
There's so many different play styles, and then the other thing with Astartes is like everyone has Space Marines, right? Everyone has Space Marines somewhere in their collection.
Yeah, they're the face of.
They're the poster boys of 40K. Yeah. So perhaps there were some players that aren't as competitively minded that were playing them.
Yeah, that's kind of like the Astartes paradox where you can't quite look too much into a tournament result for them because they're kind of a beginner faction that people will bring like just to try their first tournament out or something. And I mean, there was a Tau player that was relatively inexperienced that went to the tournament just to kind of try it out.
Yeah.
And I'd be willing to bet that there was at least a couple Astartes players in the same
situation boat there. Yeah.
I do think they're not great in this packet.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the successful factions here were taking their big models from elites that nobody was really seeing, like Asuryani with the Wraith Guards, Drukhari with the Grotesques. I don't know if Terminators for Astartes were a main piece.
Well, looking at Pat's list here, there are a lot of eliminators on here. He took a list of, it looks like 2/3 Salamanders and then 1/3 Raven Guard. So he actually played on the stream, if you remember.
He played Janus, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And he played a pretty good game against Janus. It was Friday, though. It was a Friday.
It was the Friday PM pod. Yep.
He's a good player. He's 12th on ITC for a reason.
Yeah. It's good to know that my eliminator sort of prediction was coming true.
Yeah, you did call that.
Yeah,
while ago. It was before MagFest you were talking about.
Yeah, because I was just looking at the eliminators and I'm like, man, these guys are good at killing things.
Yeah, they have all those profiles and
Yeah. This is an interesting list. As an Astartes player, I'm gonna be looking at this, and I encourage all the other Astartes players to take a gander at this. This is super interesting. It's literally suppressors, eliminators, scouts, and our single Reaver combat specialist sergeant.
Yeah.
And an intercessor.
I'm sure there's a way to play Adeptus Astartes successfully.
Yeah.
They're so adaptable.
Yeah, and when you're going into a tournament with 54 different kill teams that you can potentially be paired up against, and you're taking Astartes, the Astartes' strength, I think, is also their weakness. Because they're super adaptable to almost every sort of situation, right? But the thing is they're not like really, really good at one particular thing. So they don't have a single strength.
It's like a jack of all trades, master of none kind of situation.
And when you go into a tournament with a command roster where you can only bring 20 models, you really got to lock into something and just kind of pray to the emperor that you get the good matchups that you want.
Yeah.
So I just don't think they're very competitive right now overall as a faction.
Yeah, it's tough, but I do believe there's a way to hang in there.
Yeah, they can hang in there. I mean, they certainly hung in there. They cracked top 20.
Yeah. Took a good player, though. Took a good pilot on the faction to do it. Moving on, right above them, and this one surprises me, especially with the way this tournament turned out. Imperial Guard. Astra Militarum went 11-13.
Okay.
with a 45% win rate. Frankly, I expected much better.
Yeah, they're a good faction. They're really strong.
I mean, you saw really good players take Skitar or Admech and Asuryani.
Mm-hmm.
These, again, T3 shooting armies, and they just dominated.
Mm-hmm.
And Militarum, that's Militarum. They're the plasma
That's their
spam
whole
guys.
thing.
Yeah, and they have access to a big, strong model with the Ogren and the Bolgren.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened. They just
how many people played them?
There was 24 games, same amount as Adeptus Astartes.
Oh, okay.
Adeptus Astartes, Asuryani, and Guard were the 3 most represented factions. I think that Guard is still good in this. I know that they had a pretty big sample size, but I don't know. There were no VODs of the games that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't remember ever watching any Imperial Guard.
Yeah,
on the stream. That's interesting.
Surprises me. I thought that they were going to do better.
Do you think the issue is that it's just that Mechanicus does what they do but better?
That may very well be true. Honestly, Admech is insanely good. But I mean, we only saw a couple Admech players, I believe. Adeptus Mechanic, Admech. Yeah, we saw 3 Admech players, 7 and 5. Most of that was Alex Squares going 4-0. Yeah, though, I don't know what happened with Guard. Maybe the good Guard players just wanted to play something else.
Good.
This one's murky. I don't think we can make much of it.
Inconclusive.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Heretic Astartes. There was one player went 2-2. I mean, I think Heretic Astartes is right kind of in the middle of the strength of factions in this packet. I think a good player can take them all the way to the top, like with Will Blood. I mean, he unfortunately wasn't able to make the tournament. Yeah. I'm sure he would have made top 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, one Astartes player. I'm not sure what happened with him. He went 2-2. So I think Heretic is middle of the pack. I wish we had a little bit more sample size for them in Open with Kilmore Holdmore.
Yeah.
Because Will played all arena.
He played on all arena. That's the thing, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I still think there's something there.
They got to be better on arena, though. I mean,
definitely. Yeah. Because of the Berserkers.
Yeah. I think it can still happen, though. The Open.
Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see for them.
Yeah. There'll be something else. Next up, another one player faction was Death Guard. Right in the middle, 2-2.
You know what? I feel like this has got to be like the story of these guys.
They're always right in the middle.
They're always right in the middle. They were in the middle at MagFest. They were in the middle here.
I just think they're a faction that you can do well on them, but honestly, there's not a lot of Death Guard players out there right now.
Yeah.
They're not very popular at the moment.
Yeah. Only one player, so.
Yeah, there's very little to talk about here. So we'll just move on right to my guys. My prediction, the Thousand Sons. Now, we're finally up to a faction that had a positive win rate. There were 2,000 Sons players.
Yeah.
Went 7 and 5. I know both of them were really in the fight up until the very last round to make top 8. James Skinner made top 8, and he had a big game against Alec Berryman, the Drakari player. Kind of an upset because it was 8th seed versus 1st seed. To my knowledge, neither of those players, though, had much experience in the matchup.
Yeah.
Maybe James did, but I don't think Alec did. I think Thousand Sons is great in this format.
Oh, yeah.
Only 2 players is kind of a bummer.
Sleeper faction.
Yeah, still kind of a sleeper. But the issue is they really struggle against things like Admech and Militarum.
That's right.
The plasma spam a little bit. I mean, they do have the invuln saves, but it almost always having a 5-up to save. It's tough.
Yeah, especially on all those 2 damage plasma calivers and plasma guns.
I don't think they're as good as I hyped them up to be, as I thought they were about a week ago, but I still think they're pretty good. I still think they're up there. I think they're right behind some of these these shooty, fast moving armies.
There definitely was the potential for them to get all the way. I firmly believe that. I mean, the potential to bring essentially like 3 psychic attacks.
Yeah.
You know, with the sorcerer, the Terminator sorcerer, and then they can put the icon on one guy, and then on a 6 he gets a free mortal wound on somebody.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. It's a lot of. There's a pretty high ceiling for those guys with their mortal wounds.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And mortal wounds were pretty important in this packet.
Yeah.
As we can see with right above them, Grey Knights. Similar story. Went 7-5, 2 players. The main showcase being, I believe his name is Jacob Cordero, hit top 8. He was the unfortunate soul that had to play Michael T. Holy in his revenge tour in the first round of Sunday. And I think that game was close. It wasn't streamed, but you could hear Michael on the last moment of the last round celebrating because of how close it was. I think Jacob was winning for a little while.
I'm looking at his list right now. This is super interesting. He's got a Terminator Justicar leader.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever brought it. I would be curious.
Yeah, he could have just put it on there to fill it out, but I mean,
we'd have to ask him.
Even putting it on there is crazy.
Yeah, none of his games were streamed.
40 points right there.
He did good though, Jacob. Not a player that I'm familiar with. I haven't heard his name before. I'm sure he's been to other events, but he took Grey Knights, which were a good faction in this packet. He took them to top 8. Unfortunately, lost to the winner of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean,
can't take it away from him.
Nope.
And then right above it, Deathwatch.
No way.
It doesn't feel like it.
It really doesn't feel.
It doesn't feel like because we expected more. 7-5 again. Same deal as Grey Knights and Thousand Suns.
Yeah. 2 players.
2 players.
2 players again.
One of them was top 20. He had a pretty good showcase. It's the issue was in some of his wins he really wasn't able to get high points.
Kenneth
totals.
Goddard.
Yeah,
Kenneth Goddard. That was his name.
I believe he won with 11 points in one game and then 10 in another.
He went. It looks like here he got 53 points total. He went 11, 11, 14. The game where he got 14, he lost actually, which is pretty surprising. And then won his last game, getting 17 points.
Yeah, in most of his games, he got more points in that loss than he did in a couple of his wins.
Yeah,
that's the tough thing. Like he went 3-1. He actually sounds like he played pretty well in his games. Just the points weren't there for him to make top 8.
Yeah, it's tough with Deathwatch just because, well, you really need a perfect storm with Deathwatch in order to really maximize your points that you're going to be getting out in this packet. You need to kill a lot of things, and then you got to take the right secondaries. So when you kill those things, you're getting more points for them.
Yeah. Grey Knights are pretty good at it.
Yeah, I mean,
comparatively,
Deathwatch are hyper efficient at killing things. The thing is just, can they kill enough?
Yeah, I still think Deathwatch is pretty good in the packet, but I think they're a faction where it might be a little bit easier to deny them secondaries. I don't think they're an easy faction to beat, but it's easy to kind of prevent them from scoring high. And I think on the flip side, it's pretty easy for a Deathwatch player to do the same to his opponent, just through zoning and good positioning with those big weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not a huge sample size, 2 players, but I think we can take some stuff away from that. Maybe not as good as we thought. Overhyped them a little, but they were still good. So our track record isn't terrible.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I knew they were a dark horse. I said they were a dark horse pick when I picked them, but yeah.
Well, they cracked top 8 of win rate.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Granted, they were tied with 2 other teams, but moving on. AdMech. So they went 7-5. 2 players. One really worth talking about.
Yeah.
It's with Deathwatch, we said it feels like they did worse than their placement. For AdMech, it feels like they did a lot better than looking at this.
Definitely.
Because Alex Squires is just an amazing player.
Yeah.
That guy is good. I thought in the final against Michael, 90% of that game, I thought he was going to win. It just looked like his positioning was so good. He was setting up so well. He just seemed to understand his faction on a really deep level.
Yeah. Just understand how the game works on a really deep level. I heard on the stream that he was the guy that came up with like the actual terrain, like how they would set up the terrain for the tournament, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Oh. Yeah. And right before he started his final game with Michael T. Holy, went through with all the measurements and made sure that each piece of terrain was set up exactly where it was supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's
super precise.
And he finished ITC season 3rd, right behind Janice.
Do you want to talk about his list a little bit?
Sure. We can go through it. I know he was running kind of a mix of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was a mix of a lot of stuff. The subfaction he took was Metallica.
Great subfaction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mars is a little bit swingy because it's random.
Yes.
So it can really screw you over, but it can really help you. If you don't like relying on RNG, it might not be the way to go.
Yeah.
Metallica, you can advance and shoot with, I believe, rapid fire weapons. And you don't get the penalty for shooting when you advance with an assault weapon.
Mm.
So, and their plasma calivers are...
they are assault weapons.
They're assault weapons. And their rapid fire weapons are decent.
Pretty interesting. He took some Electro Priests.
Mm-hmm. In the final, he ran a mix of the Sicarians, the Electro Priests, and the a bunch of Calivers. If I'm not mistaken. He never took 4 Calivers though.
Yeah, super interesting because that very last game he did only take the 2 Plasma Calivers. Maybe he thought it was.
He said,
I just don't think he wanted to get in a shootout.
He said on Discord that he would have taken 4 Plasma Calivers if he came up against an Astartes or a Deathwatch or something.
Oh, like yeah, that. Definitely.
But he just didn't.
Or 1,000 Suns.
And I think he did play 1,000 Suns at one point, but he didn't do it, which makes sense because involves. But yeah, whatever he was doing all tournament, it was quite good.
Yeah.
He placed 2nd, and he looked like he was going to beat Michael.
Yeah. I think it's pretty safe to say that the 2 best players that showed up at that tournament were the last 2 players to play.
Yeah, and what a game it was! Despite all the
the technical difficulties,
the timer controversy, like they were on a cutoff at 6:30. But
yeah,
either way, it was an awesome game. Super high level kill team right there.
Yeah,
go back and watch that VOD if you're listening to this and you haven't watched it. Just
I know they'll have it recorded on the Kill Team Stream YouTube channel.
Yep. And the Kill Team Stream Twitch channel will also have all the VODs too. So either one of those, you can find them. Next up, the Gatekeeper, the juiciest Gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Adeptus Custodes. 7 and 5. They didn't do as well as people kind of
were afraid that they would.
So how much of that do you think has to do with people were so afraid of them that they prepared? So do you think it's that they weren't really as good as we made them out to be, or the hype around them caused players to prepare more efficiently?
I definitely think it was because the players...
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
There's so much you just can't do with that, with Custodes.
Yeah, they kind of fall into the same trap that Harlequins fall into.
But on the other end of the spectrum, I
would say. No, absolutely, yeah, completely. Because they don't need to worry about like mortal wounds killing a model every turn. Mm-hmm. They don't need to worry about like high AP weapons.
Yeah, what they do need to worry about is losing out on all these positional secondaries.
Yeah,
you take 3 positional secondaries against Custodes, and you're probably going to max them out turn 3.
Yeah,
if you play your cards right.
And then
all they need to do is not get a kill 1 turn. One of the 4 turns, if Custodes fails to kill, they just miss their injury rolls. It's pretty much game over.
And let's face it, like with those 3 models, like each one of those models, like, yeah, they have a bunch of attacks, but they don't have like the same net amount as some of these other kill team lists have. The amount of attack disparity between like most of their matchups is pretty stark.
I know one of the guys, Alec Berryman, the one Drakari player, he took a couple grotesques against them.
Ooh, and that's interesting.
I think don't quote me on this. He might have actually killed a Custode or 2. He won the game. He pretty much played like the perfect counter to Custodes.
Yeah.
If that game was streamed, I don't think it was, but that would be an interesting game to watch. I'm sure.
What else do I want to say about him? What I was going to say was their shooting is bad.
Yeah,
shooting.
Relatively speaking, it's okay, but for what they are, there's only 3 models. Their shooting's not very good.
Yeah, you're not going to you're not going to make one of them a comm specialist. I don't even know if one of them can be a comm specialist.
Yeah, offhand, I'm not sure.
So like you're reliant upon these guys getting stuck in close combat because they're great in close combat.
Yeah, it's the issue is they're shooting with like strength 4 AP -1. It's not quite enough.
So weak.
Yeah,
so weak
for such a big model.
Yeah. So all people got to do is just stay out of their way. It's not like they get reroll charges or anything.
Yeah, and they're one of the factions where no amount of player skill can kind of make up for those shortcomings, the 3 models.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good you are. You only have 3 models. You can't get around that. You can't win positional secondaries consistently, especially against some of these lists that they went up against. So moving on, and we're in the top 4 win rate, I believe now. And here's one that I hyped up a little bit: Necrons.
Oh yeah,
they 5 people took Necrons. Necrons ended up going 12-8, 60% win rate. Glass Half Dead had a big part to play in that, going 4-0.
Yeah,
he was the only Necron to make top 8, but there was another one that came pretty close. Andrew Wang, I believe his name was, and Necrons are silly good in this packet. They lose to the shooty like Asuryani and AdMech armies, but I mean they beat a lot of factions. And they just have so much going for them. They're so hard to kill.
They just don't die. They can bring enough models to play the positional secondaries,
and they have so much kill potential. Every model has kill potential. So I think 12, or what was it, 12-8? I think I'd say that's a situation where the truth is there. For Necrons, they're good. One of the best factions in the packet.
Necrons are good.
Moving on, and there's a smaller sample size, so don't get too excited. But Gene Cult had the 3rd highest win rate, 62.5%, actually tied for 2nd.
Unbelievable.
There were 2 Gene Cult players. They went 5-3.
Mitchell McBurney with the Gene Sealer Cult Thick Boy Society. And then we've got Marcus
Macabre, I think.
Macabre.
Something like that.
Macabre.
Those games, there were no VODs. Only 2 players. I don't think Gene Cult is as bad as their reputation would suggest. I don't think they're high tier. I think we had a couple of decent players take them and succeed.
I think their reason for success is just because based on player skill. There's 2 people that took them. And they're great players.
Okay to above average. Unfortunately, no Gene Cult in top 8. Matthew Howell back at MagFest. He wasn't at LVO, but he took Gene Cult to 2nd place. So this is 2 tournaments with Kilmore Holmore where we've had some pretty decent Gene Cult players. We need more though. We need to see more.
We need more data.
Yes. So I'm still relatively unconvinced that they're anything more than middle of the pack. I will say I these last 2 tournaments have elevated my opinion from low tier to kind of average. I don't think they're terrible. You can succeed with them clearly if you're good enough.
On an open format nonetheless too, right? It's not arena. These guys are having pretty good success on.
So next up, and this is the star of the tournament, this faction. Asuryani. We really kind of
Asuryani.
Yeah, specifically Ulthway. We really slept on these guys. I don't want to say that it's just Asuryani or OP because it doesn't feel like that.
No.
But every Asuryani player is just so good. What is it about Asuryani that attracts these amazing players?
I mean, me personally, the thing that sticks out to me about them the most is just Fire and Fade. I think that's amazing.
Fantastic.
That's an amazing tactic for 1 CP. Being able to shoot and scoot. So great.
And they have great shooting, great weapons. There's so much they can do.
The Ulthway faction, they're getting the 6-up invuln.
I mean, one thing that I really noticed that stuck out to me is the best players, especially the Asuryani players, were really utilizing reserves every game.
And I think that's a big takeaway for this.
For the whole tournament.
Reserves reserves are great.
Better than people, I think, thought.
I
mean, I'm literally coming out. I'm coming out of this tournament thinking all of a sudden I want to take reserves like every game. Unless, of course, I'm running like an all melee, obviously. But even then, with the secondaries, it's huge. Like, especially with Asuryani, they had that webway tactic they got in the annual. Where it's 2 CP deep strike tactic, but you can bring any 3 units in.
That's crazy.
And Janice used it against Byrnid in that game we were talking about earlier, and she brought in a Wraith Guard, I think, and 2 other models. I don't remember what they were. Right into the center of the board, and that was the turn when Byrnid's Tyranids just kind of got deleted.
literally teleports in front of you.
Yeah. Reserves are good though.
Yeah, I've been playing the past few weeks. I've been playing Deathwatch just to try to see how they are in this format. And what I found is almost every game, I'm trying to put the most units I can into reserves.
Yeah.
And the reason for that being is, at least with Deathwatch, just spending 1 CP to drop in a Demolitions frag cannon gunner within 5 inches of a model and 1 inch of a table edge is fantastic. Because then, well, like this is of course assuming that you have initiative this phase, because then you can immediately shoot with him almost immediately, assuming your opponent doesn't have any ready models.
On the other hand, if you don't have initiative, you can
just keep him in reserve.
You can be the second guy to deep strike.
Yeah.
So you react to the other team's outflank or deep strike.
True.
Which is pretty important too.
Mm-hmm. And then you can drop them in to snag one of the objectives on the board, snipe out hold more potentially.
Kill a leader maybe.
Yeah.
That's always a risk.
Mm-hmm.
That squishy leader in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's what I've been doing with the frag cannon gunner. It's worked out pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it killed a custode turn 1. So, I mean,
yeah, and with specifically back to Asuryani, you saw the Wraithguard coming in from reserves a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Against the second game against Glass Half Dead, Michael took the Wraithguard with the D-Scythe, and he came in, I think, out of reserves and did a ton of work, and kind of like really won that game for Michael. I mean, it was kind of one-sided the second time around, but that D-Scythe was the MVP in that game.
Yeah,
the D-Scythe Wraithguard. The reserves with these shooty armies, especially Eldar with the big guy that they get to bring. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
In the highest win rate, only had one player, but we got to talk about it. And by the way, I kind of like to say this, but these win rates are coming out of the day 2. This isn't including the top 8 win rate.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it's just kind of good players and matchups, and less of a sample size. And I just wasn't able to get a hold of it as well. But Drukhari in day 2 went 4-0. And that was Alec Berryman, the one Drukhari player. He showed up and he took first overall in the seeding for day 2 going into the top 8. And he knew his matchups really well up until he got paired against Thousand Suns in the GT, or not GT, sorry, the top 8 on Sunday. And I believe he said that he didn't really have much experience in that matchup. I might have mentioned that earlier. And he was playing against a good player, but you can't take away that day 2 performance. He had the best performance of any team.
Yeah.
On day 2, he maxed out almost every game, it seems like.
Yeah.
He beat Custodes. He beat some gatekeepers. I believe he beat Alex Rutnarek at one point, the kid, the kid himself, in a really tight Asuryani Drukhari game. But I know against Custodes, he took 2 grotesques.
Yeah, so the grotesque, they've got a 7-inch movement, 3-up weapon skill, 6-up ballistic skill, 5 strength, toughness 5, 4 wounds, 4 attacks, 8 leadership, and a 6-up save. And then they also have a 5-up invuln save, and very interesting, they get power from pain. Yeah. So as they stay alive, just as the game goes on, they just get better.
And with 4 wounds, they're going to live for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, their stave isn't great, so if you can get like a frag cannon or some big multi-damage weapon onto them,
a frag cannon would paint the wall with these guys. Yeah. I feel like,
but it's a 38-point model.
Yeah.
I mean, the grotesque, that's a really interesting choice to bring against the Custodes, and it was.
Yeah, they can. I'm assuming one was a combat specialist, and the other must have been a zealot specialist.
Or maybe neither was a specialist, and they were just big bodies to distract the Custodes. Who knows?
Yeah.
Either way, really smart. One thing I liked, by the way, talking about Alec, is on his command roster that they would obviously exchange before a game. He had like a little like a little tooltip at the bottom for like listing all like the like toughness and saves of his models, so that someone who he's playing against could just look down and see it without having to like look up those models in the book or something.
Okay.
Really very nice of him to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he took the command roster game up another level. I can't say I would have done that. Yeah, but great player.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately lost round 1 on Sunday. But fantastic performance. He took Drukhari. Only Drukhari player. I mean, I think people might be paying a little bit more attention to Drukhari from now on.
Yeah.
I'm not too experienced on that faction personally, but
we've heard rumblings that Drukhari was a good faction, but I mean, to go 4-0 at a tournament with this field, this competitive field that you're going up against, obviously he's a very skilled player.